with a lack of equipment. A lot of these people are older and yeah, they were in the service, but they're untrained and unfit. It will take months, and it really becomes cannon fodder.
Perhaps a more clear and present threat, the possible use of nuclear weapons. I wonder, how seriously do you take that?
We are taking it seriously. We understand that he is with his back to the wall. He makes mistakes, and that's making him even more dangerous. We see that he might use something really dangerous. Hopefully, it won't be the nuclear weapons. What he's already doing, 300,000 people plus. This is already very dangerous for us.
Yes.
But we believe that it won't change much in how the battle is fought right now.
No, on the basis, I suppose, that the Ukrainian military can just do what they are doing, which is to press the offensive, continue to challenge the Russian enemy where they can, and seek to gain back Ukrainian territory. But Vadim, I mean, we now, of course, hear Putin, President Putin, talking about annexing Ukrainian lands, about holding what would be sham referenda. And that being done, if that is done, he would then no doubt throw everything he could into the defense of what he would then claim was Russian territory. So the fight, I suppose, on that analysis, Vadim, would get, if anything, even tougher.
Yeah, you're right. That's what everybody's seeing. It's not just him coming with some great idea and a deep strategic analysis. No, everybody understands what he's trying to achieve. He's telling his own people that this is becoming a patriotic war, something the Soviet Union and Russia now were so proud about. And I have to remind you that the mobilization never happened in Soviet Union or Russia since the Second World War ended up. You can imagine how much miscalculation, how many mistakes he's done already. And it's not just us on this radio are understanding this. Russians are also seeing, and they understand where he's dragging them all. He's going under the water, but unfortunately, he is dragging the whole nation with him.
Yeah, I'm looking, as you speak, Vadim, I'm looking at some footage online on social media of demonstrations against mobilization, the mobilization of forces announced by Vladimir Putin this morning. And we've been hearing, well, it's impossible in some places to get a flight out of Russia. Young people, maybe facing conscription into the military, are seeking in whatever numbers, maybe significant numbers, to leave the country to avoid being pulled into service in the war in Ukraine. Peter, now we also hear about this idea of mobilization, maybe deploying anything up to 300,000 more forces on the Russian side into the war. What's your analysis of that? Because obviously it's more easily said than done.
Imagine the Russian military active military before this war was under 1 million. And a lot of it, as we all know, nobody knows the exact number, 70, 80,000 killed and wounded, have been maimed in Ukraine. 300,000 person call up. This now is those who have served before. It's old veterans. Most of them don't want to be part of this. The word has trickled up into the Russian population from the bottom, from the dead and all those wounded without legs and arms. This is ugly. And that's what you're seeing and so the word, the firewall that the Russian regime has put up to block it is being penetrated. And to put 300,000 new in with a lack of equipment, a lot of these people are older and yeah, they were in the service, but they're untrained and unfit. It will take months, and it really becomes cannon fodder into this charnel house, which has become this monstrous failing Russian endeavor in Ukraine. So this 300,000 is an aspirational thought, but getting them on the ground as capable forces, they'll be trickled in, and so much is going to happen over the next months. And finally, the Ukrainians are so into the fight right now, and I think the Russians get it, and most of the country is realizing how bad this is, which is why we're hearing of these issues and pushing back. And then with my colleague, yes, I think Putin is increasingly alone in the Kremlin. He's got his inner circle, but he does not have hard support. And I think his back is against the wall. This 300,000 may exacerbate his problems rather than aid them.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, just simple logic says, Vadim, if Putin was not desperate, he wouldn't be contemplating a mass mobilization. I was seeing a report, more than one report, of some of those who are being pushed into the front line on the Russian side, joining the Russian military, drawn from Russian prisons, facing long prison sentences, and then being pushed into the front line of battle and immediately surrendering to Ukraine's forces. I mean, are you hearing these reports? And what are you hearing about the collapse of morale among Russian soldiers?
Vadim, I'm sorry.
Vadim, yeah, if I may.
Yes, sorry. You're right. This is the black irony behind it. Either you go from the jail to the front lines and probably will be killed, or if you manage to get escaped and gets in Ukrainians' hands. But what is the alternative? For many Russians, the alternative is up to 15 years in jail if they fail to come to the mobilization points, or as Russians calling it, the criminal against the military, which they just reinforced the articles in their criminal code. So that's you can imagine the whole desperation going around the circles in Russian society right now. Mostly Russians were sending kids and people and just men from far east areas. Now they will have to mobilize somebody from Moscow and St. Petersburg. Really where the parents are the bones of the skeleton of the society. They're well educated, the people who are supporting Putin, the businesses, the government. To upset these people, he is coming into a new age of how he is treating his own people. And I believe these people will be extremely unhappy. On top of many oligarchs who are already unhappy that this war more or less brought their businesses to a halt.
Yeah, and last word from you, Peter, on this. As a soldier, these reluctant Russian soldiers being thrust into the front line. Apparently, it's now being said they might include those who are protesting against the war being pushed into the front line. Well, you don't imagine they're going to be very stiff in their resolve.
I can only imagine Russian military leadership, junior middle level officers. They see what's going on. They have troops that don't want to be there, and they're fighting a determined, almost fanatic foe who gets stronger and more emboldened as they succeed and the Russians fail. So this is hard for the leadership, and the military may get increasingly disgruntled as well because they've been so mishandled and blamed in part. And this could bounce back badly for Putin in Russia as well. So this is an extraordinary thing that's starting with the Kharkiv counteroffensive. It shows the call up in Putin's speech and news shows that the regime is in extremis, and the status quo isn't going to work. We're only going to see. We just need to remain resolute, support the Ukrainians, keep our alliance together, keep linked with the world and the UN General Assembly, and there's going to be things going on internally in Russia because most of the Russians now know what's going on. Many are in denial, but it's bad. It's really bad. Let's stop on this. Remember, Russia snapped viciously, not once, but twice in the last century, in 1917 and then between 1988 and 99. And so this is they're resilient, but they're brittle too. And I think we're watching all this play out.
All right, Peter, good to hear from you. Peter Zwack, retired General U.S. Army, and also thanks to Vadim Prestaiko, the Ukrainian ambassador to the United Kingdom. Good to have you both with us in our briefing rooms.